Hello all. My name is Lakshmi Narayan. I'm an automobile professional working in after sales department. I believe you have gone through my previous video on significance, roles and responsibilities of warranty function in dealership. If not, please click on the link here and watch it. At the same time, I request you to share your feedback and views in the comment section. In addition to that, if you are not yet subscribed for Auto Retail Professional Group, please click on the subscribe button to become a member and also click on the bell icon to get updates at regular interval. In today's session, I'll be talking on inventory management and its evaluation methods. We are all aware of the fact that material management is a very big subject. Hence, I am limiting my discussion to retail parts operations in dealerships. In the subsequent sessions, I will be discussing on warehouse management, storage methods, best practice in retail operations, and KPIs. Let us start today's session then. First of all, let us understand what is inventory. Inventory is nothing but the material available in our stock. If you say material, what type of material? It could be raw material, it could be semi-finished or work in progress material, or it could be finished material, finished products. When we talk about dealership, there are two types of inventories maintained. First one is inventory of cars for sale. Second one, inventory of spare parts in workshop. What is the requirement of having an inventory? Why do we maintain an inventory? Inventory is maintained with an intention of selling it to the customer as and when there is a requirement, and also to generate revenue and profit to the dealership. Now, what is the significant? How does it impact? Let us take different scenarios. When it comes to the passenger car dealership, when the vehicle reports to the workshop and the required part is not available in our inventory, what we do? We place an order. Till the time the part is procured, vehicle will be in our workshop. In today's scenario, most of the parts will be procured within 2-3 days time, until unless it is a bottleneck part or there is some supply constraint. Otherwise, it will be 2-3 days. So we inform customer that this is taking time and we will complete the repair and deliver it to you. Most of the cases, customer will accept it. So he will leave the vehicle in workshop. We will carry out the repair and deliver it to them. When it comes to commercial vehicle, the situation is slightly different. Where commercial vehicles are meant for generating revenue to the owners. They are depending on its utility. They can't afford to leave the vehicle in workshop. If you have worked in commercial vehicles, you would have come across many situations where customer calls us and asks for delivery time before even we start the repair, because they would have committed for sending their vehicle to the loading or for picking up the passenger. They can't afford to leave the vehicle in workshop for 3 to 4 days just for waiting to get the parts. So when we talk about dealership, normally dealerships will handle newer vehicles which are under warranty or just outside the warranty. Correct? Second, and for all those vehicles, the parts will be available. The non-availability of parts will be very rare. Second thing is, vehicles will be with us. So we are sure that whatever parts we require, we procure and fit it on the vehicle and deliver it to the customer. When it comes to parts trading, situation is different, because customer will come asking for parts for vehicles which are outside warranty normally the older vehicles. Those who don't want to go to dealership, they prefer buying the parts and take it to the local garages and get the repairing done. There the parts management is even critical, because we should have the material when customer comes and asks for it. If not, what happens? Customer will not wait till we get the part and invoice it to them. They will try to find out the next possible solution available. In that case, we lose the business. If this situation repeats, probably we lose the customer also. Now, this is the criticality of maintaining an inventory. The next question is, what is the recommended inventory to run our business? Correct? Whether we need to maintain a lean inventory, whether we have to operate with a huge inventory, then that question comes to us. This depends on the type of product we are handling. In addition to that, there are certain other conditions. Which are those conditions? Let us see one by one. First and foremost is, what is the lead time available to get the parts? That means what? If I place an order for parts in the morning, if I am able to get all those parts by afternoon or by evening on the same day, probably we may operate with a very lean inventory, because we don't have to stock, because we are confident that by placing an order in the morning, we get the parts. Second is, when we are confident of getting all the parts without any parts getting into back order. That means what? Whatever, if we are placing an order for 10 parts, all the 10 parts will be available to us by evening, same day evening. In that case also, we don't have to maintain a huge inventory. Third parameter is product differentiation. What is product differentiation? When we consider a particular model of a manufacturer, if there is no change in the specification or feature of the product, then the product differentiation is very less. To understand it even better, let us consider one particular model of a car, and we have around 50 vehicles in our dealership. That one particular model, we have 50 cars operating in our dealership. If all the 50 vehicles have same configuration, same features, same color, then what happens? We can have one set of parts, and that part can be issued to any of those 50 cars which is reporting to our dealership. Let us take an example of headlight assembly or bumper assembly. If the headlight and bumper is same for on all 50 cars, keeping one headlight and one bumper, we can provide service to any of those 50 cars which is reporting to our workshop. Whichever vehicle comes, we can issue that, we can place an order and replenish the stock. Assume that there are 3 types of headlights and 3 types of bumper in those 50 vehicles, because there is a batch change. In such case, what happens? If you have to service those 50 cars, we should have one quantity of all the 3 headlight, one quantity of all the 3 bumpers. Then only we will be able to provide service to the car. In this case, what happens? The inventory is tripled. So, when we are confident of getting the parts on the same day, lead time is low. When service level is 100%, when product differentiation is less, we can operate, and also depending on the nature of goods, we can operate with a lean inventory. When situation is not like this, it calls for high inventory. Now, we say that inventory is required, and we are all aware of the fact that inventory or spare parts is the backbone of service industry. Without spare parts, service industry cannot survive. Correct? We all agree with that fact. When we look at the contribution of spare parts in revenue generation, its spare parts contribution will be almost 70 to 75% of the total revenue. The contribution of labor will be 20 to 25%. Now we have understood what is inventory, what is it, why it is critical, what is the contribution and all. Still, what are the expectation of different stakeholders in maintaining an inventory? Let us understand that. First and foremost is workshop, correct? So what is the expectation of workshop teams from spare parts? Their simple expectation is that whenever we go to the spare parts counter with a request for any part, that should be readily available and it should be given to them immediately, so that they complete the repair on customer vehicle and deliver it back to them. They don't focus or they don't think whether it is a recently launched vehicle, whether this vehicle or for which we are asking a part is 10 or 12 years old vehicle, or they don't think what is the inventory we are maintaining, whether it is high, low. They are not concerned on that. Their expectation is that whenever we go with a request, we should get the parts in our hand. That's all. Is it the same expectation from finance department? Definitely no. What is the expectation of finance department? They always recommend to run the business with minimum inventory because that will help them for better cash rotation. Normally, if you are working in spare parts, you would have come across the questions or advice that what is the inventory you are maintaining? What is the business we are doing? Why can't we reduce it? So these are some of the regular questions which we face from finance department. It is correct also from their point of view. How? Let us assume that we are working with an inventory of 1 crore rupees. Because of our innovative ideas, because of our better forecasting and planning, if we are able to bring down that inventory from 1 crore to 75 lakhs, what is the saving? Saving is 25 lakh rupees. Is it a small amount? Definitely no. This will help them to use it for meeting some other expenses. Otherwise, they need to borrow additional fund for that. So always the recommendation from finance is to operate with a lesser inventory. What is the expectation of principal companies or OEMs? Their expectation or their focus is on achieving our pre-agreed target. So month on month they expect that we meet our target. For some reason, if we are not able to place an order and achieve the target, then they will start focusing on our business. Why we are not able to meet our target? Why are we not carrying out doing the business? Why we are not getting vehicles, or why we are not pushing out vehicles so that we can take fresh set of vehicles? So their focus is on meeting the target. As a spare parts manager or as a spare part department, they need to understand and meet all others' expectation and deliver the result. In addition to that, they also need to meet the expectation of investor. What is the expectation? That to generate maximum profit from the spare parts, they have to provide or earn profit also. They have to show profit also from the spare parts business. Thus, it is very critical, important, and it is an act of balance. We need to balance expectation of all other departments and we have to perform. Now, why it is so critical? That let us see one by one in today's session. When we talk about spare parts, it is nothing but the cash which is sitting in our warehouse, because we are paying and procuring the parts, correct? Otherwise also all the spare parts are invoiced against assured credit. Once the credit limit is or credit days are over, we need to make payment. If we are holding a stock of 1 crore rupees, that means we are blocking 1 crore rupees in our warehouse. So what is stock? Well, stock is always equal to the cash. So this is the seriousness of maintaining an inventory. Always it is associated with management. If it is not managed properly, the dealership will end up in losses. Now let us understand what all the cost involved in spare parts maintenance or holding a inventory. First and foremost is the item cost. What is item cost? It is the value we are paying for purchasing the spare parts. I am not talking about margin, I am not talking about tax here at the moment. So that is additional. Tax will be always additional, that we need to make payment, correct? That is also part of the item cost only. So without making payment, we will not get the parts. That is an amount what we are paying to purchase the part is item cost. Once the spare part is purchased, we need to store it properly and safely till it is invoiced to the customer or it is sold to the customer. So that period also requires some cost. What are those? Next is cost of capital. What is this? When we are purchasing the spare parts, we are making payment. From where that payment is coming? It is invested by the investor or managing director or owner of the dealership. Assume that if that same 1 crore rupees was invested somewhere or saved somewhere, we would have made more profit. Otherwise, even if it was deposited as a fixed deposit, then we would have earned some interest on that, correct? So when we are purchasing spare parts, we are foregoing that interest amount, that is cost of capital. On the other hand, when we borrow fund from financial institutions for purchasing the spare parts, then we end up paying interest on that amount what we are borrowing. If amount is kept as a fixed deposit, we lose interest on that. If we borrow amount for purchasing the spare parts, we pay interest on that. In both the cases, interest is cost to the dealership. Once we place an order and procure the parts, we need to store it properly, correct? How do we store that material? If you have to keep stock of all the parts, we need a proper place, that is warehouse. In today's scenario, with such a high real estate cost, borrowing or renting out a warehouse space is not that easy. It involves huge investment. That is a cost attached to it. If you have a proper space, can we dump all the material? No, we can't do that. So to keep it separately or properly, we need storage racks, correct? It should be of good quality. Again, for racks, we need to invest. That is cost to the dealership. Once racks are installed, we need to bin the material, pick the material. We need to maintenance at regular interval. There are certain activities like cycle counting, correct? So for doing all these things, we require equipment like material handling equipment, barcode reader, again which cost to the dealership. To do all these activities, we require manpower. If the warehouse is huge, we need more manpower. If for a small warehouse, the manpower required will be less. So depending on that, again, we need to pay for the salary of those people, uniform. All this cost to the dealership. Not only this, we need proper lighting, we need proper ventilation, we need firefighting equipment, we need safety mechanism. So we need all these requires investment which is cost to the dealership. Next is risk cost. When we are storing material, it is exposed to certain risk also. What are those risks? First one is obsolescence cost. What does that mean? When we hold a material for certain period or beyond certain period, there is a possibility that that becomes obsolete. That means it will be of no use for us, because it could be because of the change in the design by the manufacturer, or it is the model for which we had procured this part, that model is out of production, so we stop getting that vehicle for repair, so that becomes obsolete. Second thing is there is a change in the design or quality of the material. In that case also that becomes obsolete. Next is probably because of the limited life of that product. That means shelf life product. If it is beyond that, then it loses its intended property. So we will not be able to use. All such cases, we need to scrap these items at the cost of dealership. Hence, it will become cost to the dealership. Damage. When the movement of part increases, there is a high possibility of damage if it is not handled properly. Even especially the parts like glasses, plastic items like headlight, tail lamp, delicate item like weather strip, chrome beadings, grill. These are the parts which needs very careful handling. Minor here and there will result in damage. If tip of a headlight or tail lamp is broken during handling, we will not be able to issue it to the customer. If glass is cracked, windshield glass, probably during storage because of the vibration or while keeping it, while taking it, if it breaks or cracks, slight crack develop, we will not be able to sell those parts to the customer. That becomes cost to the dealership. Next is pilferage. What is pilferage? Missing item, stolen things. When the material is there, we come across situation where the part is available in the system, but physically it is not traceable. There are many reasons. It could be because of the theft. It could be because of the mismanagement. Part is kept some other location, whereas it is showing some other location in system, so that we are not able to trace it. There is no discipline maintained in the warehouse, that we have issued part to the workshop for testing. Neither it is built nor it is followed up and received back. So there are different reasons. End of the day, and cycle counting, at regular interval, it is regular practice to have cycle counting or perpetual inventory of the parts. So during each perpetual inventory, we come across some amount of parts which are not traceable. Correct? So with the approval of management, we write off. So again, that is cost to the dealership. Last one is deterioration. What happens when the material is stored for long duration is loses its again intended property. Examples: rubber parts. It becomes hard. If it is plastic item like bumper, if it is not stored or because of the excess heat, it gets deformed. In workshops, I have seen mud flaps becoming hard. We will not be able to fit it on the customer vehicle. Similarly, bumper, if it is deformed or out of shape, we will not be able to fit it on customer vehicle because there will not be uniform gap maintained. So all such parts we will not be able to sell to the customer. End of the day, what we do? We need to scrap it at the cost of dealership. Hence, it is cost to the dealership. There are risks attached to it. Next is ordering cost. When we have to procure the item, we need to place an order. What we require for placing an order? We require a system. We require electricity to operate that. We require net connection. We require desk. We require chair. We require place. And we require one person to operate. So we have to spend for all these expenses, correct? Again, that is cost to the dealership. The last but not the least is stock out cost. I would like to spend some time here because this is very critical. What is stock out cost? Whenever we get a vehicle in our workshop team comes to us with a request for parts. And if we don't have the parts, otherwise also when some customer comes to the dealership asking for a part, and if we don't have that part in our inventory, then what happens? We lose that business. Correct? If such situations repeatedly we say that this part is not available, we need to place an order and procure, then what happens? We may lose that customer also. That is again lost to the dealership. Let us see different scenarios. Assume that we have a vehicle which reports to the workshop for some repair, and during the repair, technician identifies some parts for replacement. When they come to the workshop or to the spare parts counter, we realize that this part is not available. Then what parts department do? They place VOR order for that part. Now what is VOR order? We are all aware that there are two types of orders, stock order and VOR order. What is stock order? Stock order is nothing but a planned order which we are forecasting and placing an order to keep it in our stock, so that as and when there is a requirement, we are invoicing it and generating business and generating profit. This is for a future requirement and it's a planned order. What about VOR order? VOR full form is vehicle off-road. As the name indicates, we are placing order for the parts for vehicles which are off the road. That means for vehicles, those vehicles are, we will not be able to drive those vehicles without replacing these parts. So it is required for a vehicle which is off-road. Always the manufacturer gives importance for VOR order. But there is a cost attached to it. In what way? Certain manufacturers may supply materials through VOR with a reduced margin in comparison to the stock order. Certain manufacturer may ask dealer to bear the transportation charges. Some manufacturers may impose surcharges onto the dealership. One way or the other way, dealership ends up paying additional cost while procuring parts through VOR channel. And the dealership cannot charge those expenses to the customer. So it becomes cost to the dealership. Not only that, for example, when we get a vehicle, assume that we got a vehicle for clutch problem and servicing. So technician carries out the work based on the approval taken from the customer, removes the gearbox, remove the clutch and pressure plate. Now he observes that the bearing inside the flywheel is making some noise, or releaser bearing is making some noise, or there is a oil leak coming from the gearbox front seal or crankshaft rear seal, which they come to know only after removing of the gearbox. Now what happens when they go to the spares? If the required spare parts is not available, then what happens? Technicians are stuck with that work. Since they have removed transmission, they will not be able to move that vehicle also. In that case, what happens? Till the time part is procured, that vehicle will occupy the bay. Correct, no? Assume that the time required for procuring these parts will be 2 days. Then what happens? That vehicle will stand in that bay for 2 days without any productive work. How this affect, or how this will add to the cost of dealership? We are all aware of the KPIs followed in dealership. In that, the bay turnover is one of the main KPI. What is the earning per bay per day, or what is the average billing per vehicle in a dealership? That is one of the main KPI monitored. I am taking an example of one vehicle being repaired in one bay in a dealership, and the average billing per vehicle is 30,000 rupees. When it comes to premium segment, the billing per vehicle is high. I am taking just an example of 30,000. If 2 days the vehicle is blocks, or if vehicle blocks the bay, then what happens? We lose 60,000 rupees revenue because of that. Correct? In addition to that, we will also not be able to accept any new vehicle for that particular bay. Whenever customer calls, we inform customer, please come after 2 days. So we are again dissatisfying a customer, and if such instances repeats, then what happens? Customer may try to find an alternate solution. In that case, we lose business. Not only that, we lose customers also. For some reason, if there is any delay in getting the parts, could be because it is a bottleneck part, could be there is some modification happening on that, so they are controlling the supply, or there is some issue in getting the parts. In such cases, what happens? If the vehicle is stranded in the workshop, first and foremost it is the responsibility of dealership to maintain that vehicle. If something goes wrong during the storage, then dealership has to bear that cost. If there is any delay in getting the parts, then what happens? In order to keep the customer goodwill, we end up spending additional amount by offering freebies. Could be interior cleaning, could be polishing, could be some accessories. So one or the other form, dealership end up investing additional amount on that. It is always recommended to keep stock of all such minor parts, because the cost of those parts are very minimal in comparison to the cost what we have discussed till now. And spare parts team may take the support of workshop team in identifying those parts and keeping it in our stock. So now we have discussed and understood what is inventory, why it is important, what role it plays, what are the costs associated with that, correct? Now, how do we control inventory? There was an Italian scientist called Pareto who has conducted various studies, and he has conducted so many research on this type of movement, and he established a theory which says that 80% of the business is coming from 20% of the line item. 15% of the business is coming from 30% of the line items. 5% of the business is coming from 50% of the line items. It is a standard theory which he has established. When you look at the situation in your dealership, probably it may vary. So what is the learning from this? The learning from this theory is that if you are able to identify those 20% of line items which are contributing to 80% of the business, that means our major work is done. How do we do this? That we will discuss in the next session. Now, let us understand the inventory evaluation method. Why it is required? Because when we are into the business, we need to understand how the revenue is calculated and also how the inventory value is calculated. There are 3 methods for calculating inventory. Which are those? First one is called FIFO, second one is called LIFO, third one is called average cost. What are those? Let us see one by one. Please look at the Excel table displayed on the screen. In this, there are 3 transactions explained. The first transaction is a purchase, second transaction is a purchase, third one is a sale. Let us, for time being, let us assume this as an oil filter. In the first transaction, we have placed an order for 6 quantity of oil filter at the cost of 100 rupees per piece. So end of first transaction, what is that we are having in our inventory? 6 oil filters with a value of 600 rupees inventory cost. I'm not considering tax or I'm not considering margin. I'm considering only the purchase cost. In the second instance, we have placed an additional order for 4 items. Now at what price? Now the price has gone up by 10%. So we are paying 110 rupees per piece. That is for the same filter. Earlier in the first instance we had paid 100 rupees. Now we are paying 110 rupees. So for 4 filters we have paid 440 rupees. At the end of second transaction, we are having 10 quantity of oil filter by paying 600 plus 440, that is 1040 rupees. In the third transaction, we have invoiced 5 quantity filter to the customer. So then what is the quantity available at our end? When we minus 5 from 10, it is 5. Now let us take all 3 scenarios to understand how the sales value and inventory value is calculated. Let us consider FIFO method, first in, first out. In this method, it is believed that the first procurement part is invoiced first. In our case, which is the first transaction, purchasing 6 quantity of oil filter at the rate of 100 rupees per piece. So when we invoice from that batch, so when we invoice 5 filter from that batch, we invoice at the rate of 500 rupees. Our sales value will be 500 rupees. What is left out with us? 1 filter procured in the first instance at the rate of 100 rupees and 4 filters procured in the second instance at the rate of 110 rupees per piece. That means 100 plus 440 is equal to 540 rupees will be inventory value. When we look at LIFO method, in this method, it is last in, first out. It is assumed that the material which were recently purchased are the ones which are sold first, and the ones which are procured earlier are the ones which will be sold last. It is reverse order of that. So in our example, what is the recent purchase we have made? 4 quantity at the rate of 110 rupees. That means 440 rupees. In addition to that, we have to sell 1 quantity from the first transaction, that is purchased at the cost of 100 rupees. So when we are invoicing to the customer, we are invoicing 440 rupees plus 100 rupees, that is 540 rupees will be inventory invoice value. And what is left out with us is all 5 quantity procured in the first instance at the rate of 100 rupees per piece. That means 500 rupees. So here the invoice value will be 540 rupees. Inventory value will be 500 rupees. It is a reverse of FIFO. When it comes to the third method, average cost method, here what we are doing, we are considering the total amount spent for purchasing the parts and the total quantity available with us. In this example, we have spent 1040 rupees for purchasing 10 quantity of filters. When we divide 1040 by 10, what is the average cost per filter? It is 104 rupees. So at this price, when we calculate sales value, 5 into 104 is 520 rupees. Invoice value will be 520 rupees. And what is left out with us? In another 5 filters. What is the average price? Again 104 rupees. So this inventory value will be again 520 rupees. Like this, each method will give different sales value and inventory value. Which method to adopt depends on the management of dealership in alignment with finance and taxation department, because it is used for reporting the sales and also calculating the profit margin generated and all other bank and business related calculations. And one more important topic here is this: if there is no change in the purchase price throughout the period what we are considering, whatever method we use, there will not be any change in the value, either in the inventory value or in the sales value. It remains same. But if there is any change, the value keep on changing as the price revision changes. Now we have considered 100 and 110 rupees. Assume that if the revision is negative, that means if 100 has become 90, the valuation and sales value will change. Like this, depending on the methodology we adopt, the inventory value and the sales value keep on changing. With this, I am ending my today's session. I will be back with topics like warehouse management, storage practice, and some of the KPIs in next session. Once again, I request you to share your feedback and comments in the comment section. I thank each one of you for your patience listening. Till we meet next time, I wish you all the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy.